Okay, guys. Alright, here we go. My wonderful 5th grade. Page 21 of our notes. We are actually going to divide decimals. So remember, I told you we weren't done with division. So yesterday, we did dividing decimals by powers or multiples of 10. And I'm putting my palindrome here. 1, 21, 21. A palindrome is the same forwards as it is backwards. And so I've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Starts with a 1, ends with a 1, and then it has 2, 1, 2 in the middle. So that 1 is in the middle. I'm going to turn to the next available right and left side page. There's page 20. Here we go, page 21. So in the bottom right hand corner we're going to put 21. And then I have 1, 21, 20, 21. That part is not a palindrome, but 1, 21, 21 is. Okay, so we're going to title it Divide Decimals. So our objective. I can compute the division involving decimals and or whole numbers by extending my knowledge of division okay. So here we go. Wouldn't be true Miss Lewis fashion if we didn't fold our page in half and do some step-by-step directions. So here we go. So step 1. Our very first thing is to ask, is the divisor a whole number? So is my divisor a whole number? If your answer is yes, you go to step 2. If your answer is no, move the decimal to the right the number of places required to make it a whole number. Okay? So this is a big one. To continue on with it though, okay, whatever you do to the divisor you must also do to the dividend. Okay? So if I move my decimal 2 places to the right in the divisor, I have to do the same thing to my dividend. Okay? So it's almost like we're multiplying by powers of 10. We're multiplying both of them by the same power of 10. I'm going to write that down. So we are multiplying, because I'm moving my decimal to the right, both by the same power of 10, which is something that we've been working on. Okay? So here we go. Now we're going to write down step 2. Step 1 was really long, but whew. Step 2 is you're going to set the problem up with long division or the box method. If you're using the box method, remember you're going to have to leave yourself space to add more boxes, just a hint. Okay? And then you will bring the decimal straight up from dividend into the quotient. Okay, now remember, if there's not a decimal present, like visibly where you can see it, remember you put the decimal at the end of the whole number, because there is a decimal point at the end of every whole number. Okay? So you're going to bring it straight up into your quotient. Now, we are at a point in 5th grade where there are no more remainders. Okay? There are no more remainders. They become decimals now. So the next thing that we do in step 3 is we do D, M, S, B. Okay? We divide, multiply, subtract, bring down or over, depending on the method that you choose. So ultimately we solve. Okay? So the next one we have is step 4. We annex, meaning we keep adding, zeros in the dividend to bring down or over, depending on which one you're using, which strategy, until the number terminates, meaning it becomes 0, terminates, or repeats after the decimal. Now, sometimes they will tell you to go until you can round to the nearest tenth. That means you would have to go to the 100th place. So you would keep going until the determined place value as well. Okay, that's another way. Whoops, I'm sorry, you guys couldn't see that. Okay? So that's what you have to deal with. That's our step-by-step directions. I realize it's a lot. Okay, we're going to do a couple of example problems, and then we're going to save some room for examples in the classroom. Okay, because this is when we're dividing, and we're already having some trouble dividing, and we throw decimals in there for whatever reason, sometimes it throws a bunch of you way off. Okay? So we're going to look at an example problem. Remember to pause the video if you need to. Okay, so our first example problem. Okay, I have 35 and 2/10, and remember this is my dividend, divided by 16/100. So this is my divisor. So I told you guys in this one we ask, is the divisor a whole number? Is 16/100 a whole number? No, that is a decimal. Okay, so yes, we go to step 2. No, we move the decimal to the right the number of places required to make it a whole number. So I'm going to multiply by a power of 10. So I take my decimal and I'm going to go right 1, 2 to make this number 16. Okay, that makes it 16. So I've done that. And it says whatever I do to the divisor, I must do to the dividend. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to go 1, 2. Well, I have a swoop there that needs a number. So now I'm going to rewrite this problem because now it becomes 3520 with my decimal here divided by 16. Okay, so now I'm going to set the problem up with long division or the box method. I'm going to use the box method because most of you prefer that for this one, and then I'll use long division on the next one. And I'm going to bring the decimal straight up from the dividend into the quotient. So here I know that I need a box of at least 4, and like I told you, with box method you need to leave room to annex more zeros. If needed. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is 3, 5, 2, 0 divided by 16. Said my decimal was right here past my 0, so my decimal is going to be right there in my problem. Okay, so now I follow my steps for division, what we've been practicing. I divide just like normal, so 16, can it go into 3? Well, and actually, sorry, I've got to do this. I've got to do my multiples. 16, 32, 48, 64, 80. I'm going to let it sit there. Okay, so I've done quite a few. So now, 16 into 3, 0 times, 16 times 0 is still 0. I subtract. I got 3, I bring my 3 up and over. So 16 into 35, 1, 2. So I put a 2 here. It's 32. I subtract, gives me 3, 0. I bring my 3 over, 32. Once again is a 2, 32. Gives me a 0, 0. So how many times can 16 go into 0? Well, obviously 0, 0, 0. So this one actually terminates, leaving you with a whole number of 220. Okay, your quotient is just 220. So 35 and 2/10 divided by 16/100 equals 220. 20. Well, I will tell you this, and we didn't put it in our step-by-step directions, but we know that we need to do this. We need to check with the inverse operation, which is multiplication. So we're going to check, and we're going to multiply 220. We'll do 220 times 1600ths, because we multiply this by the divisor. And remember, when multiplying decimals, we act like the decimal doesn't exist until the very end. We count the number of places behind the decimal in my total problem, so there would just be 2. Okay, so I would be doing 220 times 16. So 6 times 0, 0. 6 times 2 is 12. 12, 13. I'm done with that row. I have a 0, another 0, a 2, 2. Now I'm going to add these together. I have 2 places behind my decimal. I got 1, 2. So I've got 35.20, which is the same thing as 35.2 because I can annex that 0 and it matches. So then my answer is correct. So let's look at another example. Let's do example number 2. Let's do 28 divided by 6/10. Actually, we're going to do 281 divided by 6/10. I'm going to modify that a little bit. Okay. So once again, I ask, is the divisor a whole number? If yes, we go to step 2. This one is my divisor. Is it a whole number? No. So no, I move the decimal to the right the number of places required to make it a whole number. In a different color here so we can see what's going on. So I'm going to move it to the right 1 time because that's going to make it a whole number of 6. So whatever I do there, I must do here. Well, some of you are going to say again, well, Miss Lewis, that one doesn't have a decimal. Yes, it does. The decimal is always understood at the right-hand side of the whole number. So I'm going to move it once, so I've got to fill it with a 0. So now I have 2,810 divided by 6. That's what that turned into. So I'm going to set it up. I'm going to set it up long division, like I told you guys I would. So I've got 2,810 divided by 6. Got to come over here. I'm going to list my multiples of 6. So I've got 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. Then I would have 36, and I could keep going. Okay. Now, we set the problem up, and we need to bring the decimal, because it's right here. We need to bring it straight up into our quotient. Okay? So now I ask myself, where am I going to place my first digit? Can 6 go into 2? No. Can 6 go into 28? Yes. So I'm going to start here. So I'm at least going to have 3 digits in my quotient, but that's not counting what may come to the right. So here we go, 6 into 28. Can go that many times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 times 4 is 24. I'm in the middle of solving now. So now I've got bring down this 1. Okay, so now 6 into 41. Well, I didn't go far enough. We said this would be 36 and then 42. Okay, now I've gone far enough. So how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 without going over, which gives me 36. I subtract 41 from 36 because remember this becomes my new dividend, what's being divided once I bring the next thing down. 3, 11, that's a 5. I bring down this 0. So into 50. Well, once again, I still haven't gone far enough. So I got 48, then I've got 54, and then I've got 60. That's the first 10. I'm not going to need to go to 60 because you can't put a 10 in any place. Okay? So now 6 into 50. Well, I can go in up to 48 without going over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got an 8 here. 6 times 8 was 48. I subtract, I get a 2. I am not done. I have to keep adding zeros in the dividend right here, okay, and only right here. Then I keep bringing them down until it terminates or repeats. So I'm going to put a 0 here. I'm going to bring it down to my 2. And so now I'm going to place a digit at least right here. So now it's into 20. How many times can 6 go into 20? 1, 2, 3. It's 18. 3. So now borrow here. 10 minus 8 is 2. So again, I do the same thing that I said in step 4. I'm going to keep annexing zeros and bringing them down until it terminates or repeats. So now I have another 0. I have 20. Well, I had 20 there. So I get a 3. Well, that's still 18. I'm going to end up with 2 all over again, and I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. This is what we call a repeating decimal. In a repeating decimal, we put a line over the digits that repeat, and that tells me that it is a repeating decimal, and then it's just going to keep repeating 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 all the way down. So this is a repeating decimal. Now if you had one of these when you were using the box method up here, you would just keep drawing boxes and bringing zeros and bringing stuff up and over. Draw another box and keep going and make sure that you have plenty of room, okay? So that is what we have here. Now I will tell you, when you go to check one of these, if you were to multiply this out, it's not going to come out to exactly 281. It won't. When you multiply this by 6/10, it won't come out to exactly 281, but it'll come out close. So on something like this, it is best to estimate. So you would just do 468 times 6/10 and see if you get close to 281. Okay? So, that being said, we are going to do a lot of practice with this next week, but I wanted to give you the notes and let you sleep on it and let you have some time to digest it before we go into it. Okay? So, you guys have a fabulous weekend, and I will see you next week.